Hey, this is Jon Southurst for Bitsonline.com, where cryptocurrency and technology media meet the future. I'm sitting here now with Jess Houlgrave from the Codex Protocol. Now, you've got a system for recording ownership of fine art, etc. on the blockchain. Is that right?
That's right.
Okay, tell us more about that. How did it come about?
So the origin is actually in 2016. I wrote a master's thesis at Sotheby's Institute of Art on applications of blockchain for the art market.
How did you get into that?
I've been involved in crypto for a while. Some friends of mine were trading it, and I became interested from that perspective. My personal background prior to that was in private equity, and I've been an investor for a long time.
Okay.
So I was engaged with crypto, but also have a very strong interest in the arts.
I see.
And so in 2016, I wrote a thesis on application of blockchain for art. And in 2000,
was it well received?
It was well received. It was, and through that, I met my co-founder, Mark Lurie. He built a business called Lofty.com, which is an online marketplace for art and collectibles.
Right.
And he sold that to the industry last year. And together, we have built Codex Protocol, which, like you say, is a title registry and store of provenance information for art and collectibles.
Right.
So for fine wine, classic cars, jewelry, fine art.
That was a much better description than the one I gave. Thank you very much. Next time I'll ask first. So how does that actually work? So I know when we have Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies, we're talking about digital assets that can be secured themselves on the blockchain. You're dealing with like real life, real world objects.
Yeah.
How do you connect ownership of those to a blockchain-based system?
So there are two factors that are important. Firstly, in terms of the technology of linking physical assets to digital assets, there's a lot of development going on. So in the art world, there are people developing synthetic DNA, super efficient RFID tagging,
Synthetic
projects
DNA.
which you can embed into a canvas. So they contain an identifier.
Right.
And you can link that identifier to a blockchain record. At Codex, what we do is not try to define what collectors should use, because different items require different things and different collectors have different appetite for different technologies. And so we just essentially ensure that there's interoperability with those, so that whichever method you want to physically tag your work with, you can record the identifier for that on a Codex title.
Right. So what stage are you at now? Do you have any like working partnerships or big investors?
So we are backed by FJ Labs and Bessemer Venture Partners.
Right.
We're also backed by an industry consortium. So we are working with some of the biggest software providers in the auction industry to build the first application which sits on the protocol layer. And that application is called Biddable. It enables collectors to bid anonymously at auction and to buy art and collectibles with cryptocurrency.
Right. How would you deal with a situation where ownership was disputed? Like, what's the mediation process for that?
So, what we're trying to do is not to determine authenticity or prove ownership in the way that like a legal title for land registry might. What we're trying to make sure is that all the information which is associated with the identity of an object is stored in a secure way and in a way that can retain privacy. We leave it up to the collector to make a determination and a judgment on the value of that information, in the way that if an item is sold at an auction house that's very reputable, a collector might give that more weight than if it was sold by an unknown individual. But what we're trying to do is to replace the system at the moment, which what happens is when you buy a piece of art, you might or might not have just a few paper records. And very often they get lost, they get dissociated from the item, and you can't prove that sort of chain of ownership. So while you might buy from a reputable auction house, if I buy from you, I don't know if you actually did.
Right.
And so by putting all that information onto the blockchain, we can give collectors much more comfort with what they're buying, and then help them preserve that value going forward.
Okay, now when you say the blockchain, what blockchain are you talking about specifically?
So we're building on top of the Ethereum blockchain.
Right.
So we use an ERC 721 token to represent the individual assets, and then the native token to the system is an ERC 20 token.
Okay.
And that token enables amendments, transfers, and changes to those ERC 721 non-fungible tokens.
I see now. And how are you raising funds for this?
So we are currently raising through a SAFT mechanism and looking to do, once we're integrated with our auction partners, which will be in Q2 or Q3 of this year, then we'll look to do a public sale.
Excellent. Okay. And development-wise, where are you at now?
So we have code. We are testing with our auction partners to make sure that the user interface is desirable for collectors when they are bidding at auction, and so that's a big part of the build out. So we expect then that will be ready sort of mid-year.
Great. Now, if people want to find out more about this, where can they look?
So they could go to our website, which is www.codexprotocol.com, or join our Telegram group, which is at Codex Protocol.
Codex Protocol. Okay, thank you very much. That was all about the Codex Protocol. This is Jon Southurst of Bitsonline.com, and join us next time.